Now we're going. All right. So today we're going to be talking about the Mandolorian and Grogu. Just saw it hour and a half ago. This is my first reaction. I'm going to be ranting about the movie here. It was, before I get into it, I'll talk a little bit about kind of where I was before watching the movie. All the build up with the trailers and everything, and then I'll get into my actual thoughts on the movie, and then a little bit about just where Star Wars is at the moment. Going into it, I was expecting I was expecting slop. Obviously, I was expecting a very bad film. A lot of the classic Star Wars we get now, the glup shittoing. If you don't know what glup shitto is, it's basically, a lot of the Star Wars fans, their favorite character is Timmy Florgo, who had 12 seconds of screen time and didn't do anything. That's a glup shitto character, Your Ben Quadinaros Phantom Menace. That's a glup shitto character. Now, Ben, pretty good pod racer, definitely a glup shitto. So Mandalorian and Star Wars generally has pretty much just been a glup shitto fest, to the point where it's like they do it with legacy characters even, and like big characters. Darth Vader just shows up in every project ever now. He's in Maul Shadow Lord. So it's like the second random time he just showed up somewhere that Maul was at, because he did it in Rebels 2. He didn't actually fight Maul there, but he did show up and he was just there. They do it with Vader. Even Rogue One, which is like a pretty solid movie overall. It's got its problems, but it's pretty decent, and it's probably the best Star Wars movie in quite a long time. It's the best Star Wars movie since it came out. They haven't really topped it since, but a lot of problems with that. Even that movie, it's a lot of nobodies. And then they have a couple like, oh, I know who that character is, but they don't really matter. And then it has the big Vader thing at the end for no reason. That's a big glup shitto moment. You can also call that a Twitter moment, because that's your thing. Everybody posts on Twitter like, oh my goodness, look at this crazy thing. Mandalorian and Grogu didn't have as much of the glup shittoing as I was expecting, to be completely honest. But it has Imbo in it. Imbo's a side character, a side bounty hunter that was in a handful of episodes of the Clone Wars series from when I was a young kid. And he doesn't do anything in this movie. He doesn't really speak. I think he speaks 2 or 3 times, and none of it matters. He has no development or arc or anything. He's just kind of there. And it really didn't need to be Imbo filling that role. It could have been any bounty hunter. It could have been a generic bounty hunter that they made up for the project that would have made more sense. But it was just Imbo and Imbo's dog, just there for really no reason, but just because, you have your young people going, I want to go because it's going to be Mando and Schmungus and Imbo's going to be there and Glorple Drop's going to be there. Mom, it's going to be great. Can we please go see it? That's why it's in there. That's why it's in there. But that's pretty much where I'm at beforehand. I'm watching all the trailers. I see they have a new Razor Crest Mandalorian ship, and it's like one of the few things that I do remember from that show. The second half, I guess the second and third season of that show, which are pretty terrible. Season 1 was decent, had some good stuff, had a lot of bad stuff, but I had some okay stuff. One of the only things I remember from those last 2 seasons is the ship got blown up, and it's stated like pretty clearly in the show that it's like super rare. It's just about one of a kind, not quite, but it's a pretty rare and pretty old ship that he's like decked out all custom and stuff. And then in the movie, he's just going to get another one. Basically at the start. Like, maybe 12 minutes in. He just has another one now. And he's going on missions again. And it feels pretty lazy because they gave him that, like, custom Naboo starfighter in season 2 or 3. I don't remember which one it was. Whichever, like, whenever he lost the Razor Crest, or shortly after that. Which was kind of a cool ship, but it obviously just... It was like a Glup Shido, but with a ship. Because it's like, look, it's a cool Naboo fighter, but it's for Mando. But it just wouldn't work for him as a bounty hunter because he has no space to store bounties, for one, and it's not livable. The Razor Crest was good because it was like a tank and an RV in a spaceship. Like, he could live in there, he could keep bounties in there, he could do all that kind of stuff. That ship just wouldn't work, so they had to ride around that, and instead of him getting a new ship, or even having to, like, buy a new thing that would work for him, he's just, like, given his exact model of ship for free, basically, just as collateral so that he's willing to go on a mission in this movie. It's pretty stupid. Doesn't make a lot of sense. I don't get the point, but that's what they did. Whatever. But yeah, that's what I was thinking going into the movie. And I will say, by the time you're 20 minutes in, every scene that you see, you know exactly how it's going to end if you watched 1 or 2 trailers, because you're like, oh, this is the location they're in, and this is the thing that's about to happen in a minute because I saw it in the trailer. So if you watch the trailers, you're going to be like, man, I think I know what they're doing, but I'm not 100% sure where the movie's going to end up going. Every 5 minutes you go, oh, this is a trailer shot, or this is like, I recognize the area they're in from the trailer. I know they're building to this trailer shot, so this is what has to happen. So that's the movie experience. I did not have a good time in my theater. I had 2 old people who must love Mando because they're old and dumb and they're dying. But I'm sitting in the theater, and before it even starts, right, I'm getting trailers and stuff, and there's like there's these these Minion movie ads, but they're not trailers. It's just like, it's like a Minion clicking between tabs on their computer to show the trailers for other movies. And there was 3 of those, and then there was the actual Minions trailer. So there was like 4 things with Minions content, and these old people were dying laughing at every single one. Every single one. We're laughing at Minions memes in 2026. It's 2026, guys. And we're laughing at Minions memes? That's what we're doing. So they're doing that, and then we're in the movie, right? And there's a point where Mando says the thing that he said in the show. He goes, I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold. And the second he says I can bring you in warm, I hear this unk behind me go, oh, or I can bring you in cold. And he says it with Mando. And I'm thinking, all right, there's 4 other people in this theater. Four other than me. So there's 5 total people in this theater. So I get it. If you talk a little bit, you're not affecting that many people because, nobody's seeing this movie because it sucks. But there are other human beings that are trying to watch this. Now, I'm sitting there, I'm just taking my notes to remembering how terrible it is, so I can remember how terrible it is and let the people know. And then there's, 2 college-age kids. I feel bad for them. They probably don't have a lot of money to spend, and they spend it on that movie. Although the tickets were $10. That's how good it is. The tickets are $10, and they give you free Grogu playing cards, like collectors. I don't know, but they gave me this for free for whatever reason. With the movie, so there's no way they're profiting on this it's a $10 ticket. The theater keeps half. I gave Disney and Lucasfilm $5, and then they gave me some cards. So like, I don't know how they're making money here. They're not, but you catch my drift. Anyway, yeah, I've got this unk behind me, like chatting up his wife the whole time. Like, he's about to do this. This is why that's a really cool thing. This is why. So in the show they did this. In the show. Stop it. You can tell her that after. Talk to her about it after. I hope you guys had a lovely date at the movies. I hope you enjoyed your popcorn, had some nice drinks, had some good candy. I hope you guys had a lovely date at the movies. Never come back and stop speaking. And never talk about a movie again, because you're talking about how great The Mandolorian and Grogu is. The Mandalorian and Grogu. Terrible movie. Terrible. Anyway, yeah, I've rambled enough. Let's get into the actual movie. My title on my notes here is Metropolis and Gumdrop. I was going to try to figure out as many like M and G names as possible, but I got bored. You know, there's Mango and Grok, there's Metropolis and Goopy Doop, there's Schmumble Dump. Like, it's just, it's terrible. It's terrible. But, anywho, the movie starts. It doesn't have an opening crawl like the OG Star Wars. It has like it's kind of similar. It doesn't move, but it's just like paragraph. Basically, the Empire's fallen. The New Republic is trying to do its thing. Mandalorian and Grogu are out in the Outer Rim, and they're doing stuff. They're fighting down basically these Imperial fugitives and stuff. They call them imps. So I'll call them that for the rest of this, so I don't have to say Imperial fugitive all the time. But yeah, they're hunting down these imp warlords, these imp fugitives. And that's the gist of where we're at right now. We really didn't need this text to open it up. If you watched a single episode of the show, you could probably figure out that that's what's going on. But, you know, evidently not. They have to open it up with the crawl, because that's a Star Wars thing. You open it up with text, because that's what Star Wars is. So we open, basically there's this imp warlord guy. He's talking to some other people. Basically, they're paying him for protection. He's saying things were better while the Empire was around, but, you know, he's still out there giving them protection and stuff. Basically, he's going to make them pay more money for his protection, and one of them says that they're losing money as is because there's so many pirates and everything going around, even though, despite this guy's, like, protection and stuff. So he kills him. And then the guy says they need to focus on solutions, not excuses. And then an alarm goes off, and Mando's there. Our trusty Mando has arrived. He kills... It was dark in the theater. I was trying to keep a tally. By the time he gets to the room that this guy's in, he's killed 10 people at least. Minimum 10 people, and he'll go on to kill probably 40 more in this opening. At least 30, 40 more in the opening. Then the guy gives all the people under his protection guns, and basically he tries to leave, goes out in an elevator. Then Mando shows up, tells everybody to surrender, and then they drop their guns. And then he drops like a detonator down the elevator that the guy went down, and I assumed he was dead. But he's not. Because we're going to see him in like 2 or 3 minutes, and he's just not dead. And there's like no explanation for how he's not dead. He just kind of isn't. Even though, like, the way it was shot, the way Mando, like, dropped the detonator down the elevator shaft, it's like, oh, he just killed that guy. He just killed him. Boom, this is done. But then he's not. And then we see outside there's like a mouse droid that was leaving to try to call for reinforcements for some reason, but then it doesn't end up mattering. So Grogu destroys it, right? And then reinforcements are going to come anyway, so it doesn't end up matter. And then a soldier in a walker arrives. He gets off, and he has this tracker thing that's somehow, I guess, tracking Grogu, because he's, like, moving it around, and it's beeping as he walks towards Grogu, who's hiding behind a little crate. And then Mando is just suddenly on the walker behind him and, like, blows him up, and Grogu hops on, and then they run down the hill. It looks terrible. They're running down this, like, huge snowy cliff. It looks really, really bad. The CG in this movie looks terrible because they're doing it on the volume. It doesn't look good because it doesn't look real. And then they run into some AT-ATs. You remember those? Those are Star Wars, right? You're pumped because you see the Star Wars thing. It's Star Wars. Guys, we're so back. It's peak. It's Star Wars. Come on. This is awesome. You're watching Star Wars. You're seeing Star Wars things. In 2026, it's awesome. It's peak. It's peak cinema. Anyway, so the imp guy, the Imperial Warlord guy, he's just like alive and well in one of the things somehow. Mando flies around with his jetpack and just like puts detonators on one of the AT-AT's legs and like blows it up, and it just falls off the cliff. Easy peasy. They send some guys out to engage, but then Mando boards and kills like 15 or 20 of them all in one go himself. Super easy, barely an inconvenience. The pilots seal themselves in the cockpit, and then he breaches it and kills them. Then the main Imperial guy like leaves on a speeder, tries to get away. He leaves a bunch of like a bomb behind him, basically a bunch of detonators going off. Mando sees them and then goes to the front of the AT-AT to shoot the guy down. And then flies away right before the detonators blow up, and they're beeping, just like boop, 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 like they're about to blow up for almost a minute, like almost a full minute, maybe longer than a full minute. Just like, why aren't they blowing up right away? Every other detonator, every other bomb we see, maybe 5 seconds, maybe 5 seconds. If they're going for a super cinematic, like, oh, it looks like somebody maybe lost, but then, oh, they put a detonator on the other person, then maybe 10 seconds max. This was like a minute straight. It's ridiculous. And then Mando flies away with his jetpack, and he lands in a ship, and Zeb is there! Gara Zeb Orrelios is there! You remember him from Star Wars Rebels, the animated kids show from years ago? Like a decade ago? Do you remember that? You remember Zeb? You like Zeb? Remember? You like him. He's cool. He's like a Wookiee, but not. Because he's like a lizard Wookiee almost, sorta. But he has hair now. You like Zeb? He has the rifle thing. That's also an electric staff. He's super cool. You like Zeb? It's not a glub shitto. He's a really in-depth, he's a deep character. You just don't understand storytelling. He's a really deep character. It's really deep. You don't get it. But Zeb's in this movie for no reason. He doesn't do anything. He pilots. He flies around a little bit, and then he leaves. And then he flies around a little bit, and then he leaves. And then he goes, I like you, kid. And then he leaves. That's all he does. And he goes, I'll buy you a drink, Rada. And then he leaves. That's it. That's all he does in the movie. He doesn't actually do anything or contribute anything. And then we hear the Mando theme, and oh my gosh, I see people on Twitter talking about, oh my goodness, Ludwig Göransson, such a good job on this movie. And listen, he's a great composer. He really is. He's really good. And I liked the Mando theme. I liked it. I did like it. It's a really cool intro. It was a really cool intro for the show. I really like the theme. It's unique and it's interesting. It's a good little tune. It's a good little tune. You hear it 150 times in this movie. You almost never stop hearing it. You hear you hear a slight remix of it, and then you hear the same synth remix of it for 30 minutes straight, and it's torture. It's like this boop 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 choo boop 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 choo boop choo with the Mando theme for 30 minutes straight while they're on this planet where it's super synth and crap. I don't know what they were thinking. It's like there's some neon and stuff, so they did super synth type music. It's terrible. It's terrible. But anyway, he goes back to the... Then we get the intro, and it's literally just the Mandalorian intro, and then they put and Grogu underneath. That's how much effort's going into this movie. That's how much effort. They just kept the same title card and went and Grogu right underneath. Because nobody likes Grogu. Nobody likes him because he's not a character. He's not a character. He's a little puppet. That way, it's for a streaming show, right? So I'm sitting at home, I'm watching, and then, my sister or my mom who hates Star Wars, doesn't like Star Wars, whatever, can go, oh, that character's really cute. And then they might watch it too. That's what Grogu was for originally. That's why he's a baby. That's why he's a 50-year-old worthless, dumb baby. He's a stupid, dumb, 50-year-old, dumb, ugly baby who doesn't do anything, and he's worthless. And that's all he does in the entire show and this entire movie. It's been years. It's been years, and he's still exactly the same. If anything, I think in this movie he's more baby-like. Because we get so many goo-goo-gaga type noises from him that I feel like we didn't get that. I feel like we didn't get that much noise at all from Grogu. We'd get a little hum in the show. We'd get a little hum. We get a little... But we didn't get a lot of, actual loud baby noises. This is just, constant loud baby noise. Anyway, they go back to the Republic base. Mando goes and talks to Sigourney Weaver. She's a 76-year-old elderly woman who's a fighter pilot. Yeah, you heard me right. But yeah, she's in charge here. Yeah, he talks to her. Basically, they're looking for the Imperial guys, all the Imp warlords and whatnot. And they need info. They need to find one of these guys. They don't even know what he looks like. That's how dangerous and cool and badass he is. He's so cool and mysterious and awesome. They don't even know what he looks like because he's so secretive and cool. And you're like, ooh. They don't even know what he looks like? This guy might be kind of cool, right? This guy could be interesting. He could be pretty cool. He won't be. Don't worry. He won't be. He's just a guy. They're trying to prevent another war. That's what Sigourney says. She says, we're not just, doing bounties and stuff here, Mando. We're trying to prevent another war, which we all know is going to fail because the only thing the Mandalorian and Grogu arc and characters can lead to is the sequels, where the New Republic fails, the First Order takes over, and Luke Skywalker tries to kill his nephew and apprentice because he had a bad dream, then he drinks blue titty milk, and he dies on a forced Zoom call. That's where all this leads, eventually. And Luke saying, this has already happened, but Luke going, Grogu, bro, you cannot have a family. You cannot have a family to be a Jedi and be a Jedi. You can't. Can't have a family. You have to choose. Leave behind your dad, who's younger than you, or be a Jedi. Pick. Gosh, these writers are terrible. Anywho, yeah, and then she walks outside and she's like, hey, listen, we don't have cash for you right now. But what we do have is a brand new stock Razor Crest. She says it's stock 5 times. So we remember for this one thing that happens later. It's like, listen, it's stock. It's not decked. It's stock. It's stock. It's fully restored and it's stock. And it's like, all right, dude, I heard you. It's a stock Razor Crest. You didn't even have to say that. You could have just been like, it's not decked out like yours, Mando, but it's the same. It's something. You could have done that. You didn't have to just yell at, look at me in the eye and be like, it's stock. It's stock Razor Crest. It's dumb. But anyway, he has to go on a mission for the Hutts. The Hutt's nephew, Rada, is being held captive. You might be thinking, oh, something in my childhood, I remember the name Rada the Hutt. I remember that name. It's because in the terrible Clone Wars movie, Rada the Hutt, as a baby, was kidnapped, and they had to rescue him. So the two projects that we see Rada in, he has to get rescued from being kidnapped. That's the only thing that they can do with Rada. They went, okay, we haven't seen Rada in... That movie came out in, I want to say 2008, so it's been 18 years, almost as long as I've been alive. 2 years, year and a half younger than me, that movie. That's how long it's been. And they couldn't think of anything else to do with Rada. So he's kidnapped again. He needs to be saved. Basically, Sigourney says, you take that job, and then we'll give you this Razor Crest, this stock. It's stock, by the way, in case you didn't catch that. We'll give you this new stock Razor Crest as advance payment for this job, and payment for your last job. You get a new ship, whatever. He says, I don't know. I don't like working for the Hutts. I don't do bounties and stuff for gangsters and criminals anymore. I just work for the good guys, the New Republic. And then Zeb says maybe he should hear the Hutts out. And he's just kind of like on the ship. And then they just leave and go on the mission. Like, Mando doesn't say another word. He just leaves and goes on the mission. I thought he was like testing the new Razor Crest at first. I thought he was just testing the new ship. But he just flies away. And he just leaves. And I was like, oh, so I guess we're doing the mission now. Like that's what we're doing. We're just doing the mission. That's cool. Have fun. Have a good time, guys. I guess we're doing the mission now. That's the thing. In my notes, I even has Mando takes a test flight, and then I crossed it out because that didn't happen. And apparently Zeb is just like sitting in the back while all this is going on, doesn't say anything. They jump to Lightspeed to go to Nal Hutta, which is where the Hutts live. And this is another thing I wanted to talk about. In Star Wars, think about space, will you? Think about space. Space is big. Space is big, and space has a lot of stuff in it. And when you're going through space, and especially when you're going light speed through space, you're going really fast. So if you hit stuff while you're going really fast, you're going to die. And you can't really turn while you're going light speed. It's a straight shot. So you have to figure out from where you are or somewhere close to you where you can go, a straight shot to where you need to go. So you used to have to do light speed calculations and figure out where you needed to go from where you are. Now, you just press the light speed button and you fast travel to where you're going like it's a freaking video game. It's ridiculous, and it pisses me off because it happens in every project now. And even in the original, the calculations weren't taking a while, but they were like, listen, we gotta jump to light speed. We gotta do our light speed calculations. Gotta figure this stuff out. There's lanes. There's all these kinds of things. They literally just instantly press the button without even glancing at a screen, without touching another button. They do it at the end of the movie too. He literally he sets Grogu on his lap. Grogu just hits the button, light speed. They could just die. It's so dumb. It's so stupid. Yeah, but then Zeb and Grogu arrive at Nal Hutta with the Hutts, and two Hutt ships come up and fly up to him, basically just ask what they're doing. They introduce themselves, and they act like they basically just say, the Hutts take their security super seriously and have a lot of firepower, and they act like surprised when these ships come. It's just two ships. It's two ships that fly up next to them, and they're like, who are you? And they're like, it's us. We're your buddies. And they're like, okay, cool. Come hang out. And then Mando and Zeb are like, man, good thing we're here on business, or who knows? It's like, it's two ships. You killed 50 people at the start of this, and you're like, Those two, like, 50-year-old droids in those ships, though, this could be bad. And then they get down to the ground. There's a bunch of, they have old B1 and B2 droids and some other droids, but basically all their soldiers and stuff. I guess they don't have the Hutt, like, gangs anymore. It's just droids. And it's also, like, they have their Jabba's swamp palace, whatever. It's the twin Hutts, not Jabba, obviously, because Jabba's dead. But they have the twin Hutts, and they kind of just have this one palace, I guess you could say, but they just have this one spot, and, like, there's nothing else for miles and miles and miles around them. And you want me to believe that they're, like, leading the Hutt cartel, and they're in charge of all this stuff, and they just have, like, a big house with some security in the woods. And you're like, dude, they're big bad Hutts. And then that's all they have. It's like, I don't know. I don't buy that. I don't believe it. And then Mando exposits to Grogu what the Hutts are. You know, they keep their power with violence and treachery. So even though we're their guests and we're working for them, you know, don't trust them, whatever, that kind of stuff. The twins tell him that Rada has been kidnapped again. And then he asks if they have a picture. And the only picture of Rada they have, who's their nephew and is like, I don't know, he's like 30-something. They act like he's still a teenager or something in this movie. He's like 30. The only picture they have of him is when he's a baby. And I fully expected this picture to be like the animated Rada. I fully expected that for a second. But it's like a live action version of just looking at baby Rada the Hutt. And then Mando leaves. And his aunt and uncle, they said something. They were like, we're just super broken up about him being gone. And it's like, they obviously don't give a shit. And what I will say though, I wasn't sure if they actually didn't care about Rada being gone because the acting in the entire movie is so terrible. Like Mando and Grogu will be in like danger. Like they will be about to die. They could be about to die. Mando's son could be about to die, and all we get from Pedro Pascal is Grogu, no. Grogu, don't hit the button, Grogu. I emoted a bit too much there. I was a bit too emotional there. But that's about how it goes. It's like, man, Grogu, don't do that, Grogu. Oh, Zeb, drop me here, Zeb. That's the most emotion we get out of Pedro Pascal. Because he's also never in the suit. He doesn't like being there. He doesn't like doing it. So they have him out of the helmet for like 10 minutes max in the movie, and the entire time he just looks super annoyed that he like has to actually be on set instead of just in a sound studio somewhere doing his lines. Yeah, then they head out. They go to the planet where Rada's apparently being held. We get the scene where Martin Scorsese is like the alien chef guy. Mando asks for information about the Hutts, and the guy gets like super defensive about it. And then he says it's Rada, and he's like, "Oh, never mind. It's everybody knows Rada." And then points to a poster like Mando wouldn't have seen that on his way in. Oh, then we see Rada in the gladiator ring, and he's fighting this guy. It looks terrible. They do a kind of cool thing with the way Rada fights, where like since he's a big, ugly, nasty slug, he'll like roll like a big nasty slug creature might. But it's nothing crazy. And then we just see him murder a guy by crushing him. And then we see him getting a massage in a cell, and Mando and Grogu pull up. And he asks them if they're there to kill him. And then he says they're there to rescue him. And he says he doesn't need it. He only has one more fight left on his contract. And then I think it's Lord Jaina is what it was. My handwriting's not very good, and I'm writing in the dark. It's like Janu. It's like Janu Coin, something like that. That's his name. That's actually a twist because the Lord, the Imperial Warlord that Mando is looking for is named something Coin, and this guy's name is Janu, and then he ends up being the Imp eventually, but we don't know that yet. But basically, Rada signed a contract with this guy, Janu, to do some fights, and then he'll be free again. I don't know why he would do that, but whatever. He gives Grogu some food and basically says he's not his father. People feared his father, but they cheer for me in the ring. I really don't like this crap. It's like, oh, you know how hard it is to live in the shadow of Jabba the Hutt? He's so bad. He's such a bad guy, and like everybody hates him, and like he's so scary and bad. It's like, shut up, big baby. You're just a rich, spoiled brat. But Rada is probably one of the most likable characters in this movie somehow. I really don't know how, but he probably is. Then Mando goes back to the Martin Scorsese alien, and he says he's looking for Lord Janu, and the guy like closes his door and says he's closed for the night. Then he pays him, and Grogu eats his food, and he gets the information. He goes to this bar, he beats the crap out of some guys, and then Lord Janu comes out, talks to him. He offers Mando to like come fight for him basically in the arena. Mando is not into it at all and offers to basically buy to like pay off the rest of Rada's contract, even though it's just one fight. Like he says it's just one fight, and then he does let slip. He says basically they're gonna murder Rada. So what they're gonna do is just every fight he wins, they're just gonna keep sending more people in and keep sending more people in until he dies, pretty much. I forget what they called it. It was something with a D match. To Jenny, Matt. I don't know, something like that. Basically, they just keep sending more people at him until he dies. Is what they're gonna do. Mando's not up for it. He doesn't want it, and then he leaves. We get more like a really bad synth music this entire stretch. It's so bad. It's painful. But then Mando and Grogu walk over. Grogu climbs up a pipe through an open window and then goes and opens a door for Grogu, and they walk back up to Rada's cage. They tell him about the match, and Rada doesn't really believe him. And then he calls for guards. And, well, he says he basically fought to earn his reputation as who he is. When he first started fighting, people hated him. And because of how hard he fought and everything he did, now people love him and cheer for him. And then he calls for the guards, and Mando and Grogu get, like, gassed. Mando wakes up in a cell by the Thunderdome, if you will. All his weapons are gone, and he's going to be the first person to fight Rada. And the way he walks out into the arena is so casual. It's like it's totally jarring. Like, he's walking out to fight this shredded giant Hutt. Like, Rada is enormous. He's gigantic. He's so big. And Mando just, like, saunters out all confident that he's just gonna, like, I can just talk him out of it, or I'll just beat him. Whatever. I'll be fine. It's probably gonna be fine. Just walks out all confident. It's ridiculous. I'm trying to see if I can pull up a good shot of Rada just to show how big he is. Where's he at? There he is. Come on. Let's go back a frame. Ooh, sorry. All right, here I've got a little side-by-side of Mando and Rada. So that's the two of them. Mando is tiny. Rada is like a massive hut, and he's super jacked. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's terrible. It looks so stupid. He should be a fat, ugly, nasty, mucus-covered, disgusting slob. He should be gross. Like Jabba, Jabba's awesome. He's disgusting, and he's awesome. He doesn't look stupid. And Rada, voiced by Jeremy Allen White. Not a bad performance. He does fine. But he just sounds like Jeremy Allen White. Like they did nothing to his voice. They didn't try to do I wanna wonga. They didn't try to do any. They didn't do Jabba voice. They didn't even try to do Jabba voice. He just sounds like Jeremy Allen White, and it's pretty bad. It's not good because you're used to Jabba the Hutt, who's like, he sounds gross, sounds disgusting. And then you see this other hut, and it's just like a normal guy talking normally. It sounds like a human. They do that with another alien in this, who's like a weird lizard guy, and he just sounds like a normal human. And it's like, I can't suspend my disbelief that this weird lizard alien and this big, fat, ugly slug alien just sound exactly like human beings. It's dumb. You could do it in post. You could have them do a freaking Jabba impression. It's dumb. But Grogu's sitting up in a cage with the Janu guy. Mando doesn't want to fight him, but then Rada beats him up a little bit. Then he grabs a sword, and they're fighting with like swords, and Rada has two big axes. Basically, they scrap around a little bit, and then Mando has him at knife point like twice and doesn't want to kill him. The crowd's chanting kill, and Rada's looking up at him like totally emotionless, even for a giant slug. Like there's no emotion on his face. And then Mando says he yields, and he's like, I yield. So now Rada finished his last fight, and he's free. And then Janu yells, like, yeah, he's free to die. And then activates lasers around the cage. And one second. Yeah, he activates lasers around the cage. So basically they're going to have to fight. And then a bunch of monsters come out and start to fight them and fight each other. One or two of them I recognized. This made me feel like a real chud. Two of them are like the monsters from the Star Wars chess game from the original trilogy. From original Star Wars. That's the glup shitowing we get in this movie. We get the monster, the big monster from the Star Wars chess game. They're like, everybody's going to see this and be like, whoa, this is peak Star Wars. What's up back? It's like, I don't know what we're doing. Just come up with a cool looking monster on your own. Don't keep copying shit from people who are better and more talented than you, just so you can go, look, it's the thing from the thing that you liked. You should like our thing too, because it's just like the thing that you like, even though it's not. Anyway, they fight for a little bit. These are like giant monsters. They're really big, and if they're not really big, they look like they should be extremely deadly. And Rada and Mando, who are fighting together now, are just like easily, completely fine. Mando gets hit with an enormous hammer, and he's just like, nah, I'm good. But it's just like there's no stakes in this movie at all. There wasn't a single scene, action or otherwise, where I felt a single emotion or even a little bit of tension. Not a single time that was I like, ooh, something could happen here. You never get any of that. And then Rada throws one of the little monsters into the lasers, and the lasers like deactivate, which kind of defeats the whole purpose of them. Like, if they're made to keep you in there, if you, like, bump against them, they'll hurt you in some way, so that you stay in the cage. And then one of them hits it, and the cage just deactivates instantly. That, like, defeats the whole purpose. But then it shuts off, and Mando grabs Grogu, and all the monsters escape and start to rampage around through the city. Rada runs out with Mando and Grogu and says he'll go find them a speeder, and then he finds a speeder that'll fit him, his big ass. He finds a speeder that he can fit into somehow. And then he just, like, leaves them, and he's like, "Sorry, Mando, I can't go back," and leaves. And then Grogu finds this, like, child's stroller, basically, and then is just going at, like, race car speeds. He's moving at, like, Max Verstappen in a Formula One car pace in just, like, a random baby, not a specialized crib that he and Mando made, like a combat crib that he and Mando made. This is just, like, a random crib from some random dumb alien baby. And then, like, it's just super insanely fast. Like, he's keeping pace with Mando in a jetpack level of speed in a random stroller. Doesn't make any freaking sense. Anywho, then Mando calls Zeb, and they corner Rada and take him as a prisoner. Then Rada tells Mando that Coin and Janu are the same guy. And Mando's like, I don't know if you're telling the truth. He's like, all right, you're probably telling the truth. Rada's like, well, you're a bounty hunter. You can tell when people are lying and telling the truth, right? Like, that's not... No, he can't. That's not a skill he's ever had. That's not a skill any bounty hunter has ever had just because they're a bounty hunter. It might be a specific talent, but it's not like it's just... The dialogue's really bad. It's like, oh, you should believe me because you're a bounty hunter and you would just know if I was lying to you. Like, no, he wouldn't. But then he just believes him. And the next part where it's like this big Imperial warlord, evidently, that they're going to have to go take down. They just go to his compound and they just, like, take him out instantly and then grab him and leave. And this is where we get the I'll bring you in warm or cold line. And then as they're escaping, they're on their way back to the ship, and he calls Rada and Grogu, who are napping on the ship together. They're napping on the ship together. In the middle of a dangerous mission, they're napping on the ship together. He tells them that they need to start up the ship, and Rada's like, I don't know how to fly. Do you know how to fly, kid? And Grogu obviously doesn't say anything because he's a dumb, stupid baby. And then he goes up, and Rada can't even fit in the cockpit because he's fat. He's a fat, ugly slug. And then and then Grogu goes into the cockpit as Mando and Zeb and the Imperial guy are coming back. And Mando's telling him, like, Grogu, too emotional again. Pretend I have less emotion in my voice. Grogu, hit the button next to the other button, so you can start the engine. And then Grogu flips up a thing and fires a missile at him and almost kills him. And Mando's like, no, Grogu, it's not that button. That's a missile. Press the other button. And then Grogu fires another missile at them, almost killing them again. And Zeb's like, freaking kids, man, what are you going to do? Kids. That kid just doesn't listen. Like, he almost killed you. And you're still in, like, peril. Could still die. But then they just get back on the ship and leave. Rada beats up some guys and like throws a speeder from inside the ship. It's really dumb. And then Zeb talking about Rada is like, I like this kid. Rada's 30, at least. Rada's got to be 30 years old. Grown man. Jacked. Enormous. Giant, ugly slug monster. And Zeb's like, I like that kid. Shut up, Zeb. I hate you. You used to kind of be a character in Star Wars Rebels. You weren't really. Because it's Star Wars Rebels. Let's be honest. I liked it when I was a small, dumb child. Just like I liked Clone Wars when I was a small, dumb child. But if you watch it, and then you think about the lore of the movies, you go, holy shit, this doesn't work. This doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. These couldn't possibly connect. They can't. Or they break each other's canon. But yeah, on my notes, I said, Zeb calls Rada a child, but he's obviously pushing 30 at least. Like, it's stupid. And then some ships chase them down, and since this new Razor Crest is stock, like, remember when Sigourney Weaver told you the ship was stock 52 times back to back, was like, it's stock, it's a stock Razor Crest, it's a fully restored stock Razor Crest. The ships chase them, and Mando's like, hey, Zeb, rip this panel off the wall so that it's not stock anymore and we can go faster. And then they go faster, and that just works, and they don't have to fix anything, and the ship is just good for the rest of the movie. They just rip a panel off the walls, and then it's like, yep, we go fast now. They fly now. We go fast now. Shut up. This is terrible. Anyway, they jump to hyperspace the second they get into the atmosphere. Again, I already talked about this. I'm not going to do it again. Gosh. And then we get back to the Rebel base, right? He goes in and talks to Sigourney Weaver. We see Dave Filoni at the bar in a cowboy hat. I don't know if you guys remember this. You probably weren't alive. In the original Star Wars, Carrie Fisher didn't get to wear a bra in her in her Star Wars outfit because George Lucas said there weren't bras in space. But Dave Filoni is wearing a cowboy hat in space. And listen, I think that's dumb. Let her wear a bra as a costume. They probably have bras in the future in space. It's dumb. But you shouldn't have your freaking cowboy hat on just because you're the guy that wears cowboy hats and you made the movie. And you were a big part of the movie. Because the movie, listen, the movie sucks. The movie sucks. If you want to be a director and you're a really good director and you you cast yourself in stuff, that's fine. That's fine. Quentin Tarantino does it. But you know what he also does? You know what he's capable of doing? Not every time. Not every time. He can make really good movies. Pulp Fiction is a really good movie. Did he cast himself in it just so he could say the N-word like 20 times? Yes. Yes, he did. But is the movie still really good? Also, yes. Also, yes. Dave Filoni can't make good stuff. He can't. He's not talented. His favorite character is freaking Ahsoka. Ahsoka sucks. Ahsoka's not a character. Ahsoka's only trait, they have on a big whiteboard planning for Ahsoka. It says, Ahsoka character. Arms crossed, sassy. That's all that's on the board. She crosses her arms and she says sassy remarks. And then she beats everyone she fights, no matter who it is, even if it's Darth Maul who killed Qui-Gon Jinn. But yeah, I don't like Dave Filoni, if you couldn't tell. But yeah, then he brings in the coin guy who, like, I thought was going to be a big deal, but he's just like a random fat old guy who they beat in less than 5 minutes. And then he demands an attorney be present. I'm sorry, I don't think in Star Wars there was the Galactic Senate and stuff. I don't remember a single time in a trial or anything like that in Star Wars where somebody was like, I need my attorney. I'm gonna need to take my phone call. Like, what? It's Star Wars, and you're talking about I need my attorney? This is terrible. This is terrible. Anywho, Mando talks to, again, 76-year-old fighter pilot Sigourney Weaver. 76-year-old ace fighter pilot, Sigourney Weaver, my bad. I almost didn't give her props. But he tells her basically that the mission got pretty messy. That was pretty bad, and he's got to take a break for a little while. And she's like, Mando, I understand. The mission took 20 minutes. 20 minutes, and nothing happened. There was not a single point where I was like, oh boy, one of these characters could get hurt. One of these characters might even die. Something bad could happen that has permanent ramifications. That didn't happen a single time. Not one time in the entire movie did I think that. But then he's walking away, and we see Rada and Grogu playing on the beach together. I already said this earlier. It's in my notes right here. Grogu is even more baby-like in this than he's ever been before. It's painful. He's like, Goo goo shmoo gaga. I'm Grogu. It's terrible. Terrible. They fly back to their house. I don't even know what planet it's on. I don't know. I don't care. It's on a planet somewhere. I don't know. But yeah, they fly home. And then from like a city kind of close to their house, Imbo, the bounty hunter from Clone Wars, is like standing there, and he sees them fly over in the most like, how, like, it's so, why are you here? It's so convenient that you happen to be standing in the city on the planet that he has to fly over to get home. Like, that's so hyper convenient. It doesn't make sense. Even though, like, obviously he was sent there because he's a bounty hunter. Obviously he was sent there, but, like, come on, dude. Why, like, come on. Why is he just there? And then we have Mando and Grogu are sitting at home. We have the Babu Frick aliens from, I'm gonna pull up a picture because you probably don't know what that is. Pull up a picture. We have the Babu Frick aliens from, I don't even remember which sequels movie. I want to say, I think The Last Jedi. No, it's The Rise of Skywalker. Babu Frick was Rise of Skywalker. We have the dumb, ugly, stupid little Babu Frick aliens from Rise of Skywalker. Pulling them up right now. Here we go. This is what the dumb, ugly Babu Frick aliens look like. That's them. If you can't remember. So they pull up, these four fellas, and they're there to upgrade Mando's ship for him. Because remember, it's stock. Yeah, but they're there to upgrade his ship, and they're here because they're small and allegedly cute, and they're a little glupshitto. That's why they're here. That's the only reason. They're a little glupshitto species, and allegedly, some people say they're cute. I disagree. I think they're ugly and look stupid. But they pull up, and then they're basically going to upgrade the ship, whatever. Rada is about to peace out, and he's like, hey, Mando, I was alone when I was his age, talking about Grogu. And, you know, he's lucky to have you, Mando. And then Mando tells him that the twins are going to be after him, so he best get going and lay low. So Rada leaves and gives Grogu some cookies and then calls a ship, and it leaves him, or it leaves with him. First of all, when Grogu was Rada's age, Rada has never been Grogu's age before. Because Grogu is not, Rada's talking about when he was a baby. When he was 1 year old, when he was 2 years old, when he was 3 years old, maybe. Grogu is like 50. He's 50 in Mandalorian Season 1. So by now, he's probably like 53. He's an unk. He's an unk baby. He's a dumb, ugly, stupid unk baby. And Rada's like, well, when I was his age. No, he's 50. You can't put that back in the bottle. Once you say this baby is 50, the baby's 50. He's 50. He's older than Mando. And he's a baby. And the whole thing, the theme, that they try to push in this movie. They don't try to push it. They just say it once in the movie. This is what modern movies think theme is. They make a movie that's about nothing, and then they have a line that says what they want the theme to be. They don't actually like make a movie that reinforces a theme. They just make a terrible movie, and then they're like, but it's about friendship, but it's about hope, but it's about this. And none of the movie's about that. They just have one line where it's like, this one it's, the old protect the young, and then the young protect the old. This is the way. That's what they're doing. It's like the old protect the young, and then the young eventually will step up and protect them. The movie doesn't really support that. They do one thing. They kind of do it. They kind of do it. They do it more than most modern movies do. But that's not what the movie's about. They just have it kind of happen once, and the way it happens is also really dumb and shouldn't be a mechanic that we even have. But I'm not there yet. We're getting to that later. Then basically Imbo is watching from far away. Later in the night, Mando's looking around. Imbo and his dog pull up and attack them. Grogu is like sleeping with the Babu Frick guys who are like, they're adults, but they're like small and cute. So I guess it's fine that these like old people are sleeping with this baby. But the baby's 50. But like maturity wise, it's a baby. But, like, he's bigger than them. But, like, it's kind of weird that these adults are sleeping with a little baby, even though the baby's 50. I don't know how to feel about this. I think it's bad because it's a baby in the brain. But it's 50. But, yeah, it's the Babu Frick kind of pedos, I guess. I don't know. They hide an event, and then Imbo and Mando fight. And then Mando is, like, running outside, and he steps on a trap that's, like, this big. He just happens to step on it, and then he gets taken captive, and Imbo's dog grabs one of the Babu Frick guys and takes it like a little toy. And then they leave, and the Hutt twins call him, and it's like, what? The bounty hunter is working for people who pay bounty hunters to work for them? What? No way, Imbo, no. You're supposed to be the cool good guy. Oh, jeepers. Then we see Mando and one of the little Babu Frick guys. The dog is like biting the Babu Frick thing. Mando offers the dog a cookie so that the Babu Frick can get away from it. And then eventually, I thought it was going to eventually like help Mando, but it doesn't. It just leaves. Imbo comes down. Nothing really happens here. Mando tries to talk to him, but nothing really happens. Imbo takes him to the huts, and then the Babu Frick guy runs away. And then basically at the same time, Grogu and the other 3 Babu Frick guys arrive on Nal Hutta in their tiny little ugly dumb Babu Frick ship. And they're like totally undetected. No one sees them somehow. Like they have a small ship, but they should still be detected. Based on how much they like said the huts had crazy security earlier, they should probably be detected. And then when Mando and Imbo go inside, the Babu Frick guy that's with them just like runs away into the woods and immediately finds the other Babu Fricks and Baby Yoda, like instantly. And then they climb to a tunnel in the palace, and they hear like hissing and growling in the distance, and Grogu like goops a rat, and the Fricks say, "Good job, baby." We have so much time in this movie with Baby Yoda and the Babu Fricks, and then we have so much time in this movie where it's just Baby Yoda. It's terrible. Oh my goodness. It's so bad. But then Imbo takes Mando to the twins. The twins basically tell him that he must pay. They take his helmet away. They say that Mandalorian steel is super valuable on the black market. I guess they don't know that it's called Beskar, or the writers forgot that it's called Beskar because they don't watch their own shows. They just watch the clips on Twitter. And then, but they don't know what Beskar's called, but they know that his specific cult-like sect of Mandalorians, which is not the majority. It's not the majority. Most Mandalorians are chill. They take their helmets off. It's whatever. His specific, pretty much cult-like sect of Mandalore is the ones that like can't take their helmet off in front of people. They know about that, and they know that he will be shamed and an outcast for letting an enemy see his face. And then he says, "Not if you all die." So we know by the end of the movie he's going to kill them. And not like, oh, I think he's probably going to kill the bad guys. It's like we know for a fact he's going to kill them. Yeah. Basically, they also captured Rada. Rada's ship crashed on Nal Hutta, got shot down, I guess, and they captured Rada. So they're torturing him, they say, for centuries. Because Hutts live for hundreds of years, and they say Hutts live for centuries, just like your small brain child, which was probably the best line of the entire movie. Because yes, Baby Yoda does have a dumb small brain; he's an idiot. But they're torturing him, and the reason they like wanted Rada out of the picture is because after Jabba died, he's like the heir to the crime empire, which doesn't really make sense to me. Because it's like a crime empire, it's not royalty. But I guess it's also of Nal Hutta, which is like a whole other thing. But whatever, it's kind of dumb. Just know that it's kind of dumb. Then they say, one day Mando's going to die and Grogu will suffer. And then they drop Mando into a sarlacc pit. A snake pit. These weird, like, I forget what they're called. I have it somewhere in my notes. It's like an almond something. Hold on. Where's it at? Yeah, they're Amini. I think that's an anime thing as well. But these Amini things, they're like gangly, weird, ugly lizard people. But they have like axe spears. They try to kill Mando, and he just like murders all of them basically. Yeah, just kills a bunch, and then the Hutts say that they're he entertained them, so they give him a reward. They drop his helmet down, but he's not able to get to it because the big white snake dragon thing from the trailer shows up. It's even bigger in real life. Not real life. It's even bigger in the movie than in the trailers. Like the one shot from the trailer, it looks big, but it's like way bigger. It's insanely large. And frankly, I don't know why whenever they open the trapdoor to drop people in there, it doesn't just like jump out, because it easily could. It's real, like it's humongous. But it tries to attack him a bunch, and it keeps missing, and he keeps like stabbing it a little bit with the things. He gets his helmet back, and then it has him like clamped in its jaws, but he has armor, so it only hurts him a little bit. And then he gets out again and stabs it. And the Hutts tell him that even if he kills it, he's gonna die from the poison. The second they said this, the absolute nanosecond they said that, I knew for a fact that Baby Yoda was gonna force heal him. I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that Baby Yoda was gonna force heal Mando. Zero question, 100%, it's going to happen. I knew it. But we'll get to that. Then Baby Yoda and the Babu Frick show up at like a grate that's looking into the snake pit, and then they set off a detonator that floods the tunnels that they were going through, and they all fly out, and then it looks like maybe he and the Babu Fricks are going to drown, and then Mando is suddenly outside and saves them. The tunnels didn't look big enough for a person to get through. They just didn't, especially to like easily slide through with that massive flow of water. I just don't think it works. They look too small for that. But then the Hutts send out all their droids and the Omni, the weird lizard people, to go hunt down Mando and them. They run to the tiny Babu Frick ship, and Mando says he can't fit, but he tells Grogu to go with them. And we get the most just passionate, incredible line from Pedro Pascal. He says, just like this, he says, "Go now." That was way too much emotion. He says, "Go now," to Grogu. And then we don't see Grogu get in the ship. And I was really on the edge of my seat. I was like, man, I think Grogu just left him. Oh, jeepers. I can't believe this just happened. This is crazy. No, Grogu's still there, obviously. But then Mando runs through the swamp. It looks like a bad version of Dagobah. He sees the Frick ship fly away. He runs around some more. There's like weirdly inspiring music as the poison starts to like visibly affect him, and he starts to stumble around. Okay. And then he like just collapses on the ground. Hold on 1 second. Should be good. Okay. Yeah, then he just collapses. And we have suddenly just like a bunch of bugs crawl up on him. And right as a little bug is about to like sting him under the mask, Grogu pops up and eats the bug. Because that's all Grogu does is eat shit. Goes, "Hey, Grogu, don't eat the freaking blue milk. Don't eat the blue cookie, Grogu." And then he eats it, and it's like, "Oh, Grogu, you silly little munchkin." Gah. It's terrible. But yeah, and then Grogu force heals him easily. It literally takes less than 3 seconds. It's less than 3 seconds. Grogu just like heals him, done. Good to go. You're on your way, Mando. Have a good one. But then Mando still isn't waking up for whatever reason. Don't really know why. The droids are searching for him, so Grogu covers him up in brush, and they don't see him. Then there's a little time lapse of the forest. Grogu grabs a walking stick because, look, it's Yoda. It's Baby Yoda. Look, it's Yoda. That's what Yoda does. Yoda has a walking stick. Grogu's just like Yoda. You like Yoda. Remember, that means you like this thing because it's just like that other thing, so you like it. He sees a wrecked ship, and there's the little Ammonite lizard guys like searching around the ship and stuff. And then he builds a little dirt hut to put Mando in, and then he force pushes him into the hut. And there's, like, not enough room for him, so he clunks his head against it, and then he tries to, like, push him in a little harder, and he clunks his head against it again, and then he pulls him out a little bit and tries to push him back in a little bit more, and he clunks his head again. It's a super funny joke. It's really funny. Everybody in my theater laughed. Everybody in my theater did laugh because they're dumb. They're idiots who laughed at Minions jokes. You don't get to say, oh, we got a laugh from the theater after Minions jokes got a laugh from the theater. That doesn't get to be a thing that's impressive. That you get laughs. Minions jokes got laughs at this theater. Your joke getting a laugh means nothing. It's dumb. It's stupid. It's terrible. All right. So he does that. He doesn't fit, so he just like covers his feet up with brush instead of just building a little more dirt to cover his feet. Super dumb. Then the Grogu's walking around. He sees a guy's shack and goes and steals his fish. And then he meditates on a log. He goes back to steal some more fish, and the guy's like, hey, you're that freaking little thing that stole my fish, but you're a good little guy, I bet. And then Imbo shows up, and Grogu hides. The dog almost finds Grogu, but then the guy says, get away from my fish, dog. And Imbo calls the dog away. For some reason, Imbo doesn't trust the dog's every move after working with it as a bounty hunter for so long. Don't know why, but he just doesn't. Then the guy, he gives Grogu a little goop mixture thing to give to Mando. That'll heal him, basically. And then tells him to get out of there. And then Grogu feeds it to Mando and falls asleep on his arm. And then he wakes up on the ground and Mando's gone. And then he walks outside and, oh my goodness, it's Mando. And Mando says the theme of the movie. We already talked about how that's not true. He says, the old protect the young protect the old. This is the way. And then he sees the wrecked ship. It's the one Rada left in. It's all covered in gunshots or blaster burn and all that good jazz. It's covered in vines and moss and growth. But it crashed a day ago or 2 days ago. And it's completely overgrown. It's 2 days old. It's all right, come on, movie. What are we doing? I thought it was going to be an old AT-AT head or something like that. And they were going to do the vehicle go up shitto like they did at the start of the movie. But then it was just Rada's ship. And I was like, oh, but that was a day ago. So why is it covered in moss and vines and it looks super old? Because it is. Shut up. Stupid. Shut up. Stop thinking during this movie. Look at the cool picture. Look at the funny colors. Look at the colors. Look how cute he is. Look how cute he is. Look how cool Mando's armor is. That's all you have to think about. Just consume content. Consume content. Look at screen. And then Mando goes in the cockpit and fires the ship up. And the ship that was shot down a day ago. It was destroyed and shot down a day ago. He tells Grogu there's two options. They can either take the ship and go off world, and the Hutts will keep chasing them, or they can go fight. And Grogu obviously doesn't say anything because he's a stupid dumb baby and he can't talk. So that means they're gonna stay and fight. And then Mando, goodness gracious, Mando grabs his weapons. He has the rifle that he had in season 1 that he hasn't had for a while. I don't know where he got it. I don't know why it's in Rada's ship, because he didn't have his weapons because he just got kidnapped and then he escaped. So he doesn't have any weapons on him, or he shouldn't have any. It's not a single weapon on him. So he only has what's on the ship, and you see him grab 2 swords, a knife, maybe some grenades, I don't recall, and then he grabs that gun, and it's that's the gun from the show. Why is that on Rada the Hutt's Uber, basically? Why is it there? Because Mando didn't have it. Babu Frick didn't bring it. It's just there. So shut up. It's there. He has it. Shut up. Stop thinking and consume content. Shut up. It's the cool gun. Look at the cool gun. And then they fly to the palace, and Hutt ships show up and start shooting them, and it just doesn't matter. The ship already looks like it's about to crash and fall apart, and then it takes a bunch of heavy fire from the ships that are apparently super dangerous based on the start of the movie, when Mando and Zeb were like, oh, there's Hutt ships. Oh, no. But yeah, there's 3 of them just constantly firing on the ship that was already shot down a day or 2 ago. that has had 0 repairs. And nothing happens. And then when they do crash, they crash into the palace directly where they need to go. Super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Then they like ride a speeder out of the ship through the palace to get closer to the spot they need to go. And then I forgot to mention this earlier. When Mando first went to the huts, when he was at their door, there was like there was these shots that lingered on what were obviously big powered down droids on each side of the door. And it's like, oh, that's a big droid when the shot was on it. And then it would be on the other one. It's like, oh, that's a big droid. And it would linger for a second. And when you're watching a movie, there's a difference between the movie showing you something for a second and then cutting away and you're like, oh, that's a thing. Now it's in my mind that that's a thing that exists, but I'm not really going to think about it a lot. But when it lingers for a little longer, you're like, okay, the movie is telling me this is something I need to remember. And it's a big droid. So now I know that at some point in this movie, he's going to fight these big droids. And then he gets to the door, and it's like, something's going to happen. I'm like, yeah, he's going to fight the big droids. And then he fights the big droids. And it's like, oh, yeah, duh. Because that's what they showed the long lingering shots earlier in the movie for. But yeah, one of them, like, puts a thermal detonator right next to Mando, and it blows him up, but then he's totally fine. And then he, like, detonates all the thermal detonators that are on its belt, and it just blows up, and it's destroyed. And then Grogu climbs inside the other one and, like, destroys it from the inside. And then they go into the Hutt's throne room, I guess, to get the twins. Grogu walks over to free Rada because he's just in the same room. They don't have like a cell. He's just in the room. Grogu goes to free Rada with the Force because he can use the Force super easily now. That's a thing. He can Force heal and stuff. And then Mando goes to kill the twins with the Mando gun that he should have because he has it. Shut up. Consume content. And then Imbo is there. You like Imbo? You know Imbo from the thing. Imbo's from the thing that you like, the cool thing. Remember? You were like, oh, cool hat guy with the crossbow and the dog. He's super cool. You like Imbo? So Imbo's there, and they fight for a little bit. And then, sorry, one sec. Yeah, they fight with, like, swords and axes and stuff. Grogu tries to wake up Rada, and he's not waking up. And then the male twin goes over to Grogu, and he's like, oh, man, I'm going to eat this dumb little baby. And then Rada wakes up, and he's like, no, don't eat that baby. And then he starts fighting the twins, and it's like a bunch of big, fat slugs rolling around on the ground, beating each other. I wish they could have done something kind of interesting and had different Hutts fight each other, kind of like the way elephant seals fight each other, where they do like, they do the thing. Because if you go watch like a National Geographic thing about elephant seals, they're super interesting. They're actually really interesting. Like the Hutts, super fat, ugly, and gross, but they're pretty freaking cool. And the way they fight is pretty interesting. And I think they could have kind of done something similar to that with the Hutts fighting, but they really didn't. It wasn't very interesting. They just kind of fought, and they rolled around, and then they fought, and it's like, these are two, like, big goop creatures punching each other and, like, hitting each other. It's like, there's no way for me to tell who's winning or, like, who's doing damage. And the same is kind of true of Mando and Imbo. Because it's like, Imbo, he has the hat on, and you can't see his face the whole time, which is fine. But, like, he's a weird, super gangly, tall alien, and you don't, you can't really see his body in a way that allows you to, like, understand how he's taking damage. In a hand-to-hand fight with Mando, and Mando's covered in armor. So there's not really a good way to gauge how the fight is actually going. Or how the fights are actually going. And then the twins say to Rada that he doesn't have Jabba to protect him anymore. And then Rada says, I'm not little anymore. The Imbo's dog tries to attack Grogu, and he, like, force tames him. And then Mando and Imbo keep fighting. And then Mando, like, shocks him, and Imbo lands on the snake trap thing. And then the dog, who is, like, force tamed and practically asleep, somehow knows that happened and runs over to Imbo. And then Rada is, like, beating up the twins, and they're fighting over the snake pit, and he's, like, beating them, and it's starting to fall a little bit, and they're like, oh, you're gonna kill us all! And then he just keeps beating the shit out of them. And then all 5 of them, Imbo's dog, the twins, and Rada, fall into the big snake dragon pit. And then Grogu catches Rada and pulls him out. And it's a super amazing moment. Super, like, it got me emotionally. It made me feel. No, it didn't. It was terrible. They didn't earn it. It wasn't like, at least in Mandalorian Season 1, when Grogu, like, lifted the mud rhino, it was like he's been a dumb baby the whole time. He's been a dumb, stupid little baby. But then now that Mando's in serious danger and is going to die, it's like he's able to do this, and then he's utterly exhausted. But in this, he force heals Mando, and it takes no effort at all. He moves Mando around with the Force. It takes no effort at all. He does all this stuff, and there's no effort. He just does it. So he saves Rada, and then the twins are like, Imbo, hey, come save us from this big snake thing. And he's like, nah, I'm out of here, bro. And then the twins get eaten, and Imbo leaves. And then the droids are trying to break down the door. And then the Babu Frick people are back on comms, and they're like, hey, Mando, listen, bro, we told you we'd come back, which I don't think they did. But they're like, hey, Mando, we're back. What's up? We brought the New Republic, and then Dave Filoni and 76-year-old ace fighter pilot Sigourney Weaver is there. And then Mando tells them to fire on his location, and Sigourney Weaver's like, no, I can't give that order. We can't fire on your location. And he's like, fire on my location. She's like, okay, I'll do that. And that's that. And then they fight off the Hutt ships for a minute. Mando, Grogu, and Rada have to fight their way out. And then, like I said, 76-year-old ace pilot Sigourney Weaver is just dominating the Hutts. And then Rada, Mando, and Grogu get stuck at a wall as they're trying to escape, and Mando just shoots it once, and the entire wall is vaporized somehow. And then they jump off a cliff and are totally fine. And then the New Republic people blow up the base, or blow up the palace, and everything's great. And then Zeb picks them up. And the second they hit the atmosphere, they go to light speed. I've already talked about how stupid that is, so I'm not going to do it again, but just keep in mind how stupid that is. And then he goes and talks to Sigourney Weaver again. They say this like after literally every single mission. They're like, man, that was pretty messy. It's pretty messy. They say it every mission. She says that the Janu coin guy, that's the Imperial, who you probably don't remember because he didn't matter. He told them everything. The Hutts were playing them the whole time and giving info to the Empire. So basically, the New Republic is incompetent and stupid. And then she says, and also, anyway, we don't leave our own behind, Mando, dear good friend Mando, who I've known so long, dear good chap Mando. And then and then Mando saying his goodbyes, and Rada's like, actually, Mando, I'm going to stay here and work with the New Republic. It's like, what? So Rada the Hutt was just working with the New Republic the whole time? Is he the reason that the First Order ends up taking over? Like, is it his fault? Or is it someone else's fault? Is it Sigourney Weaver's fault? Is it the Dave Filoni pilot's fault? Whose fault is it? Because all these people that we see are very soon going to ruin everything and let the First Order take over. And then don't you worry, the Babu Frick people arrive, and I guess they like kind of speak English. I thought that was gibberish, and then there were a couple parts where it's like, oh, they're just speaking English poorly. And not like in a Yoda way where it's like wise and like there's thought behind it. It's just like, let's go. That's exactly what the Babu Frick people sound like. And then Mando and Grogu fly away, and Mando's like, all right, Grogu, now it's your turn to learn how to fly. And he doesn't do anything. He just hits the light speed button, and they jump to light speed. And I already talked about why that's stupid, but I'm going to do it again now because this is the end. You have to plot out. You have to do calculations to jump to light speed, or you're just going to hit a moon or hit a star, and things are going to explode, and you're going to die. That's it. It's dumb. Like you have to do light speed calculations. It's not a fast travel. You can't just fast travel. It's a straight line. It's a perfectly straight line. So you have to do it perfect, or you're going to go to the wrong place, and you're going to hit something, and you're going to die. But yeah, that is the end of The Mandalorian and Grogu. I'm expecting. One second. I'm expecting terrible returns at the box office. It's projected to do like 160 million globally in the opening weekend, which is a holiday weekend. So it's actually 4 days because it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the weekend. So it's actually 5 days. So the way releases work is things normally release on a Friday, and then they have their opening weekend stats. But things actually release, they say they release on, like this says it's Friday the 22nd is when it releases. But it actually releases Thursday the 21st, which is why I saw it today. So they have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This is a holiday weekend, so they also have Monday. So they have basically an entire week. They have like weekday, opening week, essentially, for their opening weekend, which is, it's something studios do a lot so that they can pad their opening weekend stats. Because then they have 5 days of an opening weekend, so they can go, oh, we made this much money in just our opening weekend, which is actually 5 days. So it's very misleading. And they also, so it's projected to make 160 million in the opening weekend, which is really bad. That's terrible. The movie has a production budget of 165 million. And it's slightly higher. It's 166 million. And that's a production budget. So that doesn't include marketing. So movies will tell you, like the Superman movie said it was like 175 or something. I don't remember off the top of my head. I've talked about it a lot before. But yeah, so the movie, the studios say like it cost $165 million. That's just to make the movie. That's to physically have the movie made. That's not putting it in theaters. That's not all the advertising. The advertising, the marketing for a movie, for bigger studio stuff, usually what you can do for approximate marketing, it's normally 50% of it's only 50% of the production budget. It's not always that. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. Sometimes they want to push a movie a lot, and sometimes they're like, all right, we've done enough with our budget. That's all we're going to do. We're not going to push it any more than that. But it's normally you can do, multiply whatever production is by 1.5, and that's your actual budget, which is $247.5 million. And then what you also have to do, because people will say, okay, so it's $247 million, so they have to make $247 million to break even. No. Dumb people won't even get the marketing. They'll go, okay, so the movie costs $165 million. If the movie makes $170 million at the box office, boom, $5 million profit. That's not how it works. You have to account for marketing. So that's around 247. I'll be nice. I'll call it 230. I'll say it's 230 million, which is not true. It's going to be more than that. But let's say 230 million to produce the movie. The studio doesn't get everything back from the box office. So, say a movie makes $100 million, and part of it's domestic, part of it's international. The way this normally works in America, your movie is going to make about 50% of profit from theaters, or domestically. So if you make $50 million in the U.S. at the box office, you're actually making $25 million. That's actually going back to the studio. And then it's normally, I think, 40% international, and then 25% international in China, or 25% in China is normally the splits that they have. But you can generously, you can say 50%. It's not the most accurate, but that's how you can be pretty generous to the movie and just be like, if they make double their production and marketing, then they'll be breaking even. So double their 230, which is already small. It's very small. And that's me being very nice to the movie. That's $460 million. So just to break even, Mandolorian and Grogu has to make about $500 million just to break even. And say it makes $501 million on approximately needing $500 to break even. Because let's be honest, the 230 was too nice. It's probably 250, which means it's $500 million to break even. So let's call it like it really is. They need at least $500 million to break even on the movie. They make $501 million. People are going, all right, hey, that's $1 million profit. That's a lot of money. And it's like, yeah, for me, that's a lot of money. $1 million? Shit, I'd take $1 million. But they invested $230 million into this movie. At least. So if I invest, say I give you $230. Let's think small scale, little people like us. I give you $230 to go call it a lemonade stand. I give you $230 to go work on a lemonade stand for a little bit. And then you come back and you go, dude, look, here's $231. Here's $231. Look at what I did. I got $231 worth of stuff. This is awesome. We just made $231. And then I'm like, no, I gave you $230 and I only get to make $1? This is terrible. This is terrible for me. That's where they're at. They don't want to break even, and they don't want to make small profit. if they're investing hundreds of millions, realistically, they want to double their money. They want to double their money. They want a big hit that's going to make them a bunch of money, which isn't what's going to happen. They're going to lose a bunch of money on this movie. I'm pretty excited to see the box office for it because I'm certain that what I'm going to get the privilege of seeing is that the movie flops horribly and it probably comes in even below the projections, which are incredibly low, especially for a Star Wars film. Star Wars used to be, if there's a Star Wars movie going to theaters, high 100 millions, easily. 700 million, boom. Nothing, not a sweat broken. $900 million, boom. It's not really billions. It wasn't hitting billions, really. But we were hitting high 100 millions for big stuff, for bad movies. Just because people were like, oh, I get to see Star Wars in theaters in my life. I was 10 years old, not 9 or 10 years old when Force Awakens came out. I loved that movie. I was so excited seeing that movie, even though it was terrible. I was a dumb 9, 10-year-old. Don't judge me for thinking the movie was good at the time. I loved it because I grew up. I was little. I was 3 years old. I watched Star Wars for the first time. It was my favorite thing ever. Me and my brother, we freaking love Star Wars. We watched it all the time. It's all we talked about. Star Wars, Star Wars, Star Wars. We fought with our toy lightsabers every freaking day. And our blasters. We dressed up as stormtroopers for Halloween. It's freaking awesome. It's our favorite thing. And then we finally get this movie that's coming out in our life. This was something that from the time we're 3, 4, 5 years old, it's like, oh, well, Star Wars is just something that's always been out. And the end of the prequels were still coming out while I was alive. Wait, no, they weren't. Hold on. Yeah, no. They were coming out. My brother was young. My brother was like a couple years old. But they're coming out right before I'm alive, which is close to me. But as a kid, it's like, once I go through and watch these movies, in my head, it's like, okay, there's 6 Star Wars movies, and there's always, dumb little kid, there's always been 6 Star Wars movies, and that's all there's ever going to be, because that's Star Wars. That's my point of view at the time, is these 6 movies are what Star Wars is. This is everything that Star Wars is, and everything that Star Wars is this. It's this. And then there's books, there's extended stuff, and there's stuff like that. But as far as on-screen Star Wars, this is all you get. This is all you get, and I'm fine with that because it's really good, and I love it. I love it. But then I find out Force Awakens is coming out. I'm 8 or 9 years old when the trailers are coming out and all this stuff is happening. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I get to see Star Wars in theaters. I get to be a part of that. My dad got to see Star Wars in theaters. His brothers got to see it in theaters. My parents got to see it in theaters. People that are just a couple of years older than me got to see their Star Wars in theaters. And this got to be my Star Wars coming out in theaters. This was it was so special to me. It was so special to me that I also got to share that with my parents, my dad who showed me Star Wars, my uncle who showed me Star Wars. It's such a cool, special thing that I got to be the next generation and get to see my own Star Wars, the Star Wars that came out when I was alive, that I got to go see in theaters. And then it was really terrible. And then The Last Jedi came out and it was really terrible. It was even worse. And I was a little older and it was way worse. So that was the first time I realized, I was like, ooh, this isn't good. And then that made me think more about The Force Awakens, and I was like, ooh, that's actually not very good. That's not very good. And then the Rise of Skywalker comes out, I'm a little bit older again, and it's even worse again. And I'm like, oh, wait. All of the Star Wars that they made for me is terrible. I got shortchanged. My dad, growing up, his Star Wars was freaking awesome. My Star Wars sucks. The Star Wars they made, allegedly, for me, is terrible. It sucks. Do they hate me? Do they want me to only have bad stories? And then now I'm thinking there's 9-year-old, 10-year-olds out there who grew up watching Star Wars that for a second, I was going to say that their Star Wars is going to be Mandalorian and Grogu and crap like that. But it's like they probably don't even get excited like I got excited because we've reached a point with Star Wars where it's dead. There's more on-screen Star Wars content that's bad than good at this point. There's 4.5, 5 movies total of good Star Wars content. I love the prequels. All right? I love them. I love them. Because I grew up watching them. And I love them. I love what they are. But they're not good. There's some really good stuff in there. But overall, critically, they're not the best. But I love them. You know, it's like if you have an ugly baby or like an ugly dog. It's like, it's a little ugly dog. It's like, but once the dog used to be cute though. Or when I was young, I used to think the dog was cute. But it's not that bad because it's like there's some really good stuff in there, and they're fun movies regardless. And I still like them, even though they're not the best. The dialogue is pretty bad. The acting can be a little sketchy. The fights. The scores. That's what I'm talking about. When I say there's good stuff in there, there's really high quality stuff in there. There's some really good stuff. Duel of the Fates, as both just a fight, watching people duke it out, and as what it means in the score. Whoo! That's fire. The rest of that movie pretty much sucks. You can leave the rest of it. Just let me watch Duel of the Fates. Let me watch that. You can take the rest. I'm good. I don't need it. And then Attack of the Clones, some cool fights. That's about it. That's all there is to say about that movie. And then Revenge of the Sith does some pretty cool stuff. Dying of Sadness, pretty dumb. A lot of the dialogue, not the best. But there's cool stuff in there. There's really good fights. There's some really, really cool stuff that they do with Obi-Wan and Anakin. There's also a lot of problems. But hey, I like those. The sequels, it's not even like a flawed thing that you like. It's not like, listen, I know it's not perfect, but I don't need it to be. I don't need it to be perfect because they're just that bad. It's not even a charming where it's like there's some really, really neat stuff in there. There's some neat stuff. There's not neat stuff in the sequels. They fly now. Somehow, Palpatine returned. There's a dagger that's thousands of years old that flips out from this one specific spot and correlates to this crash that happened 20 years ago? 1,000-year-old dagger? What? That doesn't make any sense, right? That doesn't make any sense. That's what Star Wars is now. Star Wars is shit like that. Star Wars is Maul Shadow Lord. It's going, look, guys, please. Will you please just watch our thing? Look, it has this character it's like cool. It has this cool, we put Darth Vader in it. Come on. Please, watch it, please. That's what Star Wars is now. It's not a titan anymore. Star Wars used to be a titan of an IP. It was colossal. It was the biggest IP in the world. Everyone loved it. Not everyone. Everyone loved it. Not everyone. But it was awesome. It was so cool. It was innovative. They were doing stuff no one had ever done before. They were doing things with film no one had ever even thought of before. And now it's terrible. And it looks bad. It doesn't even look good. It's ugly, dumb. It's dumb, ugly slop, like it says in the thumbnail. It's dumb, ugly slop, all of it. It's not just the Mandalorian. It's all of it. You can say Andor. Andor's pretty... I haven't watched all of Andor yet. I'm still getting there. But so far, looks pretty good. Not very dumb. Seems pretty good. So the exception of Andor, which I think most of the people at Disney were just like, yeah, freaking make Andor, whatever. And then it was actually good because they didn't sink their crap into it. Anytime Disney gets super focused on a project, then they're like, yes, that one. That's the one that we need to make. We need to make that one really good. They ruin it. And I think Andor, they were like, yeah, freaking make your prequel show about a character from another prequel that's a sequel to the prequels, but a prequel to the originals. So make your show that's a prequel to the originals that's a sequel to the prequel. Go make that show. Whatever, sure. We're going to focus on The Rise of Skywalker. We're going to focus on Ahsoka. We're going to make this really cool stuff. That's terrible. That's where Disney Star Wars is at now. It's dead. It doesn't have it anymore. Star Wars could have released Glup Shido the movie in 2014, and it would have made hundreds of millions of dollars. And now, they're not even going to break even on Mandalorian and Grogu. So yeah, I think that's going to be the end of rant number 1. This is something I think I'm going to do now. Is just stream and rant. It's rants and reviews with Jake, so might as well rant about stuff. But yeah, don't go see Mandalorian and Grogu. It's really bad. I could probably sum up the whole plot in 5 minutes or less, if I had to, without leaving anything important out. Is the main thing. Like you could do that with any movie. You could do that with any movie. Do that with the original Star Wars. He doesn't want to be on the farm, and then he leaves the farm, and then he goes and trains with like a Jedi, and then he takes down the Empire. See, I just described Star Wars. No, you left a lot of stuff out. I could describe this movie in 5 minutes without leaving anything important out. I'd say, it's not good. There's no substance. One more thing before I go. This movie was all plot. All it was things happening in places. They didn't even think about developing a character. They didn't even consider having a character moment where a character has to change or become different or develop. It's just Baby Yoda is dumb Baby Yoda, and then he used the Force a little bit, and then Mando is, Mando, this is the way. He's Mando, he says exactly the same. Freaking Zeb is there, he doesn't do anything. Rada's there, he's nothing. Even though he's in the movie a lot, but he's nothing. Sigourney Weaver's there. She's a 76-year-old woman who's an ace pilot. Totally makes sense. But yeah, there's no character to the movie. It's just plot. And characters is what makes good stories. Good characters that you really care about, that are super interesting, that have to go through hard challenges, not just like things that challenge what they're like physically able to do, like fighting a big bad guy, but moral conundrums and hard choices, stuff like that. That's what makes good character stuff. Challenging dialogue. There's just none of that. This is a nothing movie. It's going to affect nothing. It doesn't really do anything. It just kind of is. And then at the end, it isn't anymore, and then it's done. And that's all there is to it. So thank you for listening if you listened this far. And no thank you if you didn't, I guess. And then, yeah, have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.